Hello and welcome to News Across Nigeria. I'm Olumide Macaulay. On the program today, bomb blast kills 8 in Muna, a satellite community in Maiduguri, Borno State. Police in Kaduna State stops procession of members of outlawed Shiite movement. And the Cuban government pledges to assist Nigeria with vaccines in curbing killer diseases. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin in the northeast, where a bomb blast has killed 8 people in Muna, a satellite community in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. According to the public relations officers of the National Emergency Management Agency in Borno State, the area Sani Dati, 15 others were injured and have been evacuated to specialist and teaching hospitals in Maiduguri. The 8 persons killed include the suicide bomber who reportedly joined a cab and detonated the bomb, killing herself and 4 other occupants. Meanwhile, security operatives in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, have halted a procession by members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, also known as Shias. The state's government had last week described the Islamic group as an illegal association, banning it from operating in the state. However, it continued to ignore any ban or order from the state government. The group has this morning embarked on a procession to commemorate the annual Ashura festival in remembrance of the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, Imam Hussein. Meanwhile, the spokesman of the State Police Command, Aliyu Usman, says security operatives have been stationed in the area and other flashpoints to maintain law and order. The Nigerian Bar Association has again spoken against the arrest of some High Court judges by the Department of State Security State Service, DSS. A representative of the NBA and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Olisa Agbakoba, says that the DSS officials humiliated the judges with the arrest. He also asked why similar arrests have not been made of army generals who he describes as corrupt. He was speaking today on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily.
Of the Constitution refers to not subjecting people to inhumane and degrading treatment. In my view, without prejudice to whether they committed the offense or not, they would have been handled in a much more humane way. What about all these generals who've been stealing money, billions? Have they done this? All the generals involved in the scandal about the arms deal. I'm sure that judges have the stature to respond to invitations. Couldn't they have been invited? Let's say that DSS is the SSS. Let me grant that argument so that we don't fall into this trap of saying, aha, lawyers again, here we come with our procedural technicalities. I want to make clear that that is not what the NBA, speaking for the NBA president, intends. We want to get to the bottom of this. But what we have seen so far, and by the way, we're waiting for the DSS to release the evidence. There's a process set out in the Administration of Justice Act dealing with procurement of evidence. The DSS has flouted every single one of them. They said they collected 900 million or 500 million or all of what they did. There's a procedure they have to follow. They didn't do that. Why haven't they spoken?
The federal government is pledging to ensure the domestication of the Child Rights Act in states across the country. Against the backdrop of the 2016 International Day of the Girl Child, the Minister of Women Affairs, Mrs. Aisha Jumai Al-Hassan, reveals government's readiness to enhance the welfare of young children, especially girls, and protect them from any form of abuse. Mrs. Al-Hassan was speaking to an audience made up mostly of women and girls in Kaduna State.
We have the Child Rights Act, which prohibits child marriage. And that was what I told you earlier in answering one question, that act applies only to the federal territories. We are now going around to have the act domesticated. There is a provision in the act, the Child's Right Act, that prohibits child marriage. And once domesticated in all the states, that will be applicable in all the states. But before domestication, it can only apply in the federal territories. There are some states that have domesticated. We're still going around on advocacy visits to make sure that the act is domesticated in all the states of the federation. So once that is done, the girl child will be protected from child marriage. The government had been working to protect you. So by trying to collect the exact statistical data on you, we are trying to protect you more. And then all gaps that are in these existing acts will be addressed when the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill that I told you has a scaled second reading in the National Assembly is passed. Another program that the government is doing is the homegrown school feeding program, whereby children are given one meal while they are in school at the expense of the government. And that way, the children will be tempted to go to school every day because they'll have that one meal, and then they'll remain in school until the close of school. So it's another program that the government is doing to keep our children and to have more enrollment of children in school.
The Cuban government has agreed to provide organic vaccines needed by Nigeria to fight killer diseases. Now, the Cuban ambassador who visited Nasarawa State and met with the governor, Tanko Amakura, at the government house in Lafia, told journalists that his country is ready to provide the vaccines. The vaccines are for ailments such as cancer, Lassa fever, malaria, diabetes, and others.
The Cuban ambassador did not come alone to the government house. He is accompanied by his deputy and wife to the council chambers. The delegation is helping out in the areas of cancer, Lassa fever, malaria, diabetes, and others.
We don't have malaria in my country since 1967. And we have plenty of mosquitoes. Plenty, as much as you have. Too much mosquitoes in Cuba. We don't have Lassa fever in Cuba. We don't have leptospirosis because we produce the drugs for that, which are organic and friendly to the people and cattle and the environment. We are ready to license that to be produced either in this state or anywhere in Nigeria.
Happy with the development, the governor congratulates Cuba for the renewed ties between them and the United States of America, which he believes will promote world peace.
I would like to make a proposal that, given your expertise in the health sector, we will be most obliged that we interface with you with regard to finding ways and means of creating a diagnostic research laboratory. I'm making this very special request for obvious reasons, especially when it deals with communicable diseases that are dangerous.
The new partnership between the Cuban and Nasarawa state government is expected to mature and bring about an enduring legacy resulting from a beneficial relationship.
You're watching news across Nigeria. Coming up, the federal government donates food to internally displaced people in Yobe State. Please stay with us.